Raymond Felton is just not dunking 4 times a game in the NBA, you think like, oh, he probably doesn't really have a dunk package. You should have dunked more in the NBA. You throwing it down.
I could really get up. But once I got into the league, man, listen, when you get knocked out the air by Shaquille O'Neal and some of these big dudes, you learn to shoot a floater.
All right, everybody, welcome into another episode of Throwbacks. Please, however you're listening to us, don't forget to leave a comment on the YouTube or leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It helps us out. Email us some questions, thoughts. We're doing some mailbags. Feedback at Throwbacks Show.
Did you see my post about golfing? I said, golf is speaking to me this year. It's just speaking to me. And it's because of you.
You went to a Bryson DeChambeau launch event,
I saw
right?
Bryson DeChambeau launch balls with his new driver, LA Golf. At Bel Air Country Club a couple nights ago, pitch black with lights, and he was trying to tag these drones in the sky. It was actually pretty funny, but he was just hitting absolute laser beams.
My goal is to get you to a place, and you have a lot of hobbies, and you work out a lot, and you got 4 kids.
I don't really have a lot of hobbies. I don't.
What I mean is, like, you have beach volleyball, right? You coach your kids and stuff. You have things. It's not like you have tons of free time. However, my goal for you, and I'm glad you went to that event, you had a nice little blazer, like a sport coat, a blazer. What was that? You had a nice piece on.
Yeah, got to step up every once in a while.
My goal is
I got more than hoodies and sweats in the closet.
I would love to get you to a place where you golf like once a month, once every 6 weeks, maybe, like, just get you in the mix.
Once a month is great. I hit up my boy because we have a couple par 3 courses right by the house.
That's a great place to start.
So we have Top Golf, which is a par 3, and then there's a par 3 behind a hotel over here that's actually pretty good. I used to play it decent amount. So I'm going to try and get one in this week, and then I just need to get out there, dude. It's calling me. It is. I think that since we've been doing this together, I've talked more about golf, been invited to really cool that we'll get to later on the pod, in a couple months, where I'm going this summer, which is freaking ridiculous. But yeah, man, like it's going to be part of my life. It just takes up so much time.
It does. But can I say, and I'm going to tell you about who our guest is today. I'm not going to spoil who the guest is in the coming week or two. All I'll say is
you got a little
we have
chubby for
a
next
major champion from the PGA Tour coming on. We're going to talk a little, not today, not this episode. Coming, I think maybe next week. We're looking good. We're not
good teaser,
say who
buddy.
it is.
But you have a chub right now.
I mean, this
Zero
was the
doubt.
easiest. It was the easy. I'm already prepped for that interview next week. But we have a great guest today too. I'm not trying to outshine our guy today because also he has some Knicks blood in him. Raymond Felton, former Tar Heel,
Raymond Felton, man,
national champ. Obviously. The college tournament's coming back tonight. Games will be going back on. I did think of you, though, Maddie, because we had Coach Gottlieb on a few weeks ago, and I know it's been talked about, but the Juju interview in
heartbreaking
women's college basketball. Yeah, heartbreaking for so many reasons. Also, it happens in the tournament. We were on a collision course for UConn, which I think that could have really broken a lot of viewing records. I still think that's going to be a good game. Now, here's what I'll say, and hopefully we wish Juju the best, and hopefully a speedy recovery and just a full recovery. I'm not counting out this USC women's team just yet. I know going into UConn, that's going to be a massive upheaval without Juju, but I'm not so fast to say that's a wash. I feel like that locker room gets fired up now to get into the spotlight.
Just to echo really quick, I mean, we're thinking about Juju. She'll make a full recovery. She's going to come back stronger. We all know that. It is just hard. It's part of sports. It happens, and it's unfortunate, and just what she's done for USC. I mean, the fact that, those seats are full because of her and her team, but she's a star, man. Like she's a superstar, and Coach Gottlieb talked about her a couple weeks ago. So, look, at the end of the day, it happens. She's going to be fine. She's going to come back bigger and better and stronger. But to your point, they've recruited really well through the portal, through high school, and this team is built to continue to make a run. I think it's going to be challenging. If they do line up with UConn and Paige Beckers in the Elite Eight, I think that's a difficult game. The way UConn might be the favorite to win it now. But yeah, they've Kiki is a stud. Like they have 8 or 9 deep that they go. So they're going to be tough. Lindsay does a great job there. So, but shout out, we're thinking about Juju. Obviously she'll be better, and shout out to USC women's basketball. Let's see what they can do. But yeah, Ray Felton, what a stud too. I mean, just growing up, because we're the same age. So pretty much the same age, right? He's 40, 41.
I think he's 40 on the dot, about to be 41,
so those are those, UNC years, they had a squad back then. They had an absolute squad the year they won the national championship.
I'm a little mad at UNC, though, because I had them on the 4th leg of a nice little opening parlay, and they just didn't come through. They came back from like 25 down, and they suckered me right back into, okay, I might still win this bet.
You took UNC to win?
Just for that game. Just for that game. It was just
Ole Miss is playing. Ole Miss is playing good.
You know what? Here's a take, and then we'll get to Ray. So I used to, avoid flying during things like March Madness or an NFL playoff game or a basketball game I really wanted to watch, because if you didn't get that JetBlue DirecTV seat, you couldn't really watch. The Wi-Fi now, they figured it out for the most part. Every now and then you get on the flights where the Wi-Fi doesn't work or the airline, whatever. But for the most part, it's really, really good. So I flew home. I did that movie in Florida. I stayed a few days and played some golf with the boys. No surprise. And then I flew home for that Colorado State Maryland game on the plane. So I was able to order a drink, pop open the laptop. It was like a sports bar in the air, to the point where when we landed, I was like, taxi a little slower. I saw the ending while taxiing to my gate. And it was an awesome flight. And now I'm going to start making flights for games I want to watch, as long as that Wi-Fi holds up. So this Thursday's it's a sneaky good day because the tournament kicks back up, and then we got Major League Baseball opening day. I'm busting this out for you, Matt. Although I think my boys are going to have a lot of questions, but
listen,
here's the bigger question: how much baseball are you going to tune into early,
bro? We'll talk about baseball in September, okay?
3-4 months from now.
Yeah, maybe the All-Star break, maybe that. Let's talk about baseball. There's too many games, dude. We might win 120 games this year. We might win 130.
And I did go back in.
I just really want to say, like, I'm thinking about Mookie Betts, man, really sick. That's the only thing really I care about. He's been sick.
What's happening with it? They haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet,
He's lost like 30 pounds. I just been reading the report, so nasty virus, flu, whatever, but
not eating. He's not able to eat and hold down food.
So he'll be fine. But yeah, think about it. But you catch me on you catch me baseball in the summer, dude. We talk about it this summer.
I was so back in end of last season into the playoffs, but to the point where I said I'm gonna really pay more. And it's not that I don't pay attention because I don't love baseball. I think when you have kids and as you get older, you have to let go of some things. You have to make some tough choices. And for me, I'm not letting go of football, college and pro. I'm not letting go of basketball. And baseball was one of the things that I let go a little bit. And UFC, some fights that are on like after midnight because I just can't stay awake. However, at the end of last season, I was saying, I'm back in on baseball. The true test, if you're back in on baseball, especially if you don't live in the city that your favorite team is in, is are you getting the baseball package? I am not yet currently subscribed to the baseball package.
Let me just say something really quick about my team. And for all the Dodger fans listening, this might be the greatest pitching rotation of all time. And now they got to stay healthy, but let me just read some names off.
Go ahead.
Okay? First of all, Snell, just a minor pickup this offseason. He's a Cy Young.
So annoying.
Tyler Glasnow, a monster who, by the way, was hurt most of last year. He's back. Yamamoto. Sasaki, the other guy we picked up. Oh, and then let me just throw in Shohei Ohtani, by the way, who's probably a top 4 pitcher in the
Forgot
MLB.
He pitches because he took some time off last year.
And by the way, there's
pitching
probably guys I'm leaving. Kershaw came back. Obviously, shout out to Kershaw. It is unbelievable. And then you just throw the lineup in there with Mookie and Freddie. And look, dude, that's what I'm saying. We're going to coast Okay, I'm going to follow my Lakers here the next couple months. We're going to make a deep playoff run. It's a long, long MLB season, dude. A long one. I'm not worried about what happens in April and May and June. You get me to September.
You're a $105. Like 105 wins is like a down.
Dude, I'll
year
check the
for
standings
Dodgers, right?
every 4 days, and we'll be up 14 games by the time June comes around. And it's like, all right, let's good.
You'll watch some at bats, right? You'll see Ohtani's up with 2 on, and they're down 2 in the ninth. Let me just see what happens.
I'll take the boys to a game. We'll go to a couple. We go to a couple games every year. I'll take the boys this year, probably the first time. We'll see. Kayson's ready. Cannon might not, but. You know, those things we go for 5, 6, 7 innings and we leave, and it's a pretty fun day for them. So,
well, it was one of the first things we truly bonded on with this podcast was the Yankees-Dodgers World Series. I will say for my Yanks, interesting offseason, and I just can already tell you, we might not pay attention to it now, but when it gets into September, you're just going to hear a lot about that 5th inning or 6th or whatever it was. That is going to be the real. If it's a Fox game or whoever has the game nationally, their ESPN, they're going to bring that clip up. We're going to see that a lot this year being brought back up. It's going to happen.
I want to ask you about the kids. I think Bree posted something on Instagram, or maybe it was you, about. Are we raising a little point guard in the Ferrara house or what?
Man,
does that not get you pumped?
I'm trying to keep my emotions in check because with kids, right? Like it's this for 2 weeks and then next week, who knows? It could be, I don't do that anymore. But since going to that Knicks game, and I showed him when we were in Florida, I showed him a clip of that Bridges game winner against the Blazers, right? Because he's never seen a game winner. I'm like, here, come on. It was in the morning too. So it was the next day. I'm like, watch this clip of me. I showed it. And we watched it again in like slow motion, and he heard Mike Breen make the call, and that was it. He kept it moving. So they come back here. I'm still in Florida, and Bree sends me a video of Jacob in his Karl Anthony Towns jersey, driving and shoots a basket. And when he hits it, he goes, "Bridges for the win. Bang. It's good. Knicks win." Like he did the Mike Breen call.
That's great.
And asks me every morning, "Dad, did the Knicks win? Even if they didn't play last night?" And he's in 2 different basketball camps right now. So I'm going to ride this thing out as long as it lasts. I don't know if it's forever, but man, are we in a good spot right now.
It's a good start because typically if they don't care, they'll just show no interest, or like they'll hate if you drag them to something. They'll hate if you want them to watch something with you. But if he shows interest on his own, then dude, you just keep milking that. Keep watching a game with him. Keep showing him some highlights because he's gonna get the bug, dude. And it doesn't. I mean, that's just in him. And
you really
awesome.
don't know what your kids hear you say. When he was wearing the Towns jersey, someone asked Jacob, "Why do you like Karl Anthony Towns?" He's like, "I like that his nickname's Cat, but he has too many dumb fouls," which is exactly what he got that from. He heard me bitching about Cat for having too many dumb fouls, and now that's like in his brain.
Well, the word that's going around our house is ass cheeks. And I got to be honest, it's not for mom and dad. I have no clue.
Kids cursing is super funny, but you really have to manage your reactions because then it's just going to be for ass cheeks.
It's ass cheeks. And then this morning when I dropped the boys off at school, Cannon's going to get kicked out of school at like age 7. He goes, "Butt cheeks!" He said butt cheeks this time. And I go, because
he cleaned it up.
He's in preschool, right? So like I walk in, the teacher's in there. Like it's pretty low key. It's awesome. Walk in, put his bag around, Kaysen follows me, and then I drop Kaysen starts school after, and he just goes in and he's just like, "Butt cheeks." And I'm like, I looked at him, I said, "Dude, you cannot say that in school.
Yeah, stop your bag. You don't do that."
No, and I said, "The police are gonna come and get you." And he goes, "Daddy, really?" I go, "Yeah, man, you can't say that word.
You're going to get locked up."
But dude, ass cheeks, man.
Okay, it's March Madness, and Wendy's is hyped. The courts are polished. The jerseys are on. There's a junior bacon cheeseburger or double stack for $1 with in-app offer and purchase. The lights are lit. Again, there's a JBC or double stack just for $1 with in-app offer and purchase. The shoes are shine. All right. All right, sorry.
All right. Wendy's is the official hamburger of March Madness, which means more deals for you and more burgers for your face. It also means that, well, you know this, we've got a JBC or a double stack for $1 with an in-app offer and purchase. Sorry, it's just hard not to get excited when there's an offer on 2 of the freshest, hot off the grillest burgers that Wendy's makes.
The JBC with fresh beef, applewood smoked bacon, cheese, crisp lettuce, tomato, and mayo, and the hot and juicy double stack. 2 patties of fresh, never frozen beef with cheese, ketchup, mustard, pickle, and onion. The real champions of March Madness.
Head to the Wendy's app to grab the $1 JBC or the $1 double stack with in-app offer and purchase.
For the freshest deals in fast food, gotta be Wendy's. Limited time only at participating Wendy's. Account registration required. It's one of the best times of year for sports fans around the country. Tournament time. You got the games on all throughout the day. You're keeping track of your office pools. All the close finishes have you on the edge of your seat. It's the best.
But regardless of who makes it to the final game in the tourney, one thing's for certain, it takes the most talented people working together to help these teams play at this level. If you're hiring, you want the most talented people on your team to help your business go to the next level. How do you find them? ZipRecruiter. And right now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/throwbacks.
ZipRecruiter knows you need to get things done quickly, which is why their powerful matching technology works fast to score you top talent. So you don't have to waste time or money. See a candidate who'd be perfect for your job? You could use ZipRecruiter's pre-written invite to apply message to personally reach out to your favorite candidates.
Pick ZipRecruiter to help you build a winning team. See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Just go to this exclusive web address right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/throwbacks. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/THROWBACKS. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Well, speaking of ass cheeks, this is a perfect transition for me. Speaking of ass cheeks, let's talk. Can you join me on the New York Giants roller coaster for 1 second? Speaking of ass cheeks, I don't know.
Is that how you feel? Do you think it's just ass cheeks?
Well,
I mean, Jameis Winston's a throwbacks. You know, he's a friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
I love that signing, by the way.
I love the Jameis signing. I was fully
You don't
ready.
like the Russell signing.
And me and all my group chats and all that, we were fully ready to just embrace, look, we ain't really going anywhere. Malik Neighbors probably going to break their wide receiver receiving yards record with Jameis. It's going to be a wild ride to 6 or 7 wins, but it'll be fun. We'll have some weird comebacks. It just is going to be an entertaining bad year. And then look, while still maybe drafting a quarterback and who knows, the Russell Wilson signing. Now, not my favorite player in the world either. Not my favorite.
Yeah, why is that?
I just, he's a little bit of a history
Russ.
there. There's a little bit of a history there. But also.
Well, no. You can't just throw that out there and not talk about it.
Well, if you really want
He
the
came
gist
on
of it,
Entourage, right?
yeah, and Doug Ellen and Connolly talk a lot about it on the Victory podcast. Like when we were promoting first of all, he's in the Entourage movie along with Gronk and Edelman and a bunch of cameos, right? And he's the one who threw the pass that Connolly broke his leg on when I was guarding him. It was a Russell Wilson pass that got Connolly's leg broken, not his fault. And he was all about it. Had us up to Seattle after the movie was done. We screened the Entourage movie for the entire. By the way, we were trying to get into the facility and we were locked out and no one was coming to get us. And Pete Carroll walked up chewing gum, like, "What are you guys doing?" And he had no idea who we were right away. And we're like, "We're meeting up with Russ." We're screening, and then Pete Carroll let us in. We ran the 40. We did that tennis ball machine where you're catching the tennis balls. We did a bunch of drills, kicked some field goals, screened the movie for the entire team, all this stuff. And he's like, him and Doug are like friends. Like they come in and just movie gets close to coming out. You know, it's doing good, not great, tracking's trying. And then people start saying, "Oh, Entourage is toxic." And then I think Russell just ghosted everybody from Entourage. Ghosted Doug, everyone, like just unfollows, like just high knees on the plane.
Something happened there.
I don't think something specific happened other than maybe he saw it wasn't a giant hit and didn't. I don't know. I don't know. Nice guy. A few times I have hung out with him. Very nice guy.
So you're holding
personal.
on. You're holding on to a beef for like 14 years.
So there's a half a beef, but then when you dive into the actual, but the former Steelers quarterback room is now in New York. You got Fields with the Jets, Russell Wilson with the Jets. Where are you going? Where are you going? And Matt, do they not draft a quarterback now? I know Wilson's like 10 years guaranteed, 1 year. That's
you saw. Yeah, I mean the Jameis signing. Okay, all right, we got a bridge guy. Let's go see if we can get. Let's go get Shador. I think Cam Ward's a lock to go number one. That's all. I think that's a lock, right? So what does Cleveland do at 2, and then Giants at 3? And we talked about it this week on the phone. Just like I think Giants would take Shador in a heartbeat. And now this signing of Wilson makes me believe that there's no chance Shador is going 3, that he's going to go number 2.
Right.
But what if Shador does go 3?
But the Browns don't have a quarterback. They have Kenny Pickett. That's it.
Maybe they're in the same boat. Maybe they're just like, you know what, we'll
Is
take
it
our
going to be
chances
Flacco?
this year.
There's no one left. It's Flacco
No,
and
we'll
Rodgers.
take our
The only 2
chances
left.
this year, and then we'll go get Arch Manning next year.
Take our chances with Kenny Pickett? No offense to Kenny Pickett.
Like you said, go win a couple games and then set yourself up to get Arch Manning next year, who I think will be the number 1 pick. All that's being said is I understood the Jameis thing.
Yes, me too.
And
why do you need both? Why do you need both?
Exactly. And that's, I mean, and listen, like Russell Wilson's a starter. I don't think there's going to be a competition there. And maybe they told him there is going to be a competition. I can't imagine Wilson's not the starter. He actually played pretty well for Pittsburgh last year. But I just don't see, like, that's not a move that's going to get the fans excited. And it's not a move that's going to say, all right, well, now New York is, I mean, now they can compete in that division and get to a playoff. It doesn't say any of that, which is why give them all that money? You know, and go try and get Jackson Dart, you know, trade, by the way, maybe.
I'll start talking Milroe over this situation. Like, you could talk me into a lot of other, I talked myself into Joe Milton before this.
There's some drafts that have Dart going in the top 10.
I know, it's so crazy. And
you could trade, I mean, that's the thing. Like I don't know, man.
I've always been able to spin it, Matt. I'm excellent at spin. What I mean is, like, I was able to spin the Daniel Jones draft pick when they drafted him, even though it was way too high. I tried to spin it and it made sense. And then I was able to spin the contract, right? It's like what quarterbacks could you even pay at this point? There is no spinning this. And for me, anything short of a playoff win, a playoff appearance and win, it's a failure. If they win 8 games, what does that get you? They go 8 and 9. That's bad.
They're not winning.
That's worse
games,
than.
Dude.
What
was the record last year? They won what, 4 games? 5,
something
maybe?
like that. And by the way, their over under wins total was 3.5. They signed both these quarters.
4.5.
It's 3.5 still.
3.5. Yeah.
It moved. It didn't move at all.
It's going to be another long fall for you, buddy.
And then now I know we'll talk about it because we're going to be doing a lot of fun draft stuff. But now I got to start getting my mind ready for Travis Hunter. I don't know if this is, and is this keeping your job if you're like Dable and Shane? Is this the move? This is a thing that's going to allow you and buy you more time? It's awful, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I
9
don't know
starters since
know
2020.
I don't know the reasoning of both. And, you know, I think obviously Rodgers is, I think that's going to happen quickly.
It's got to be Steelers now. There's no, right? Steelers
be.
or Browns or retirement.
Cleveland, Shador and Kenny Pickett. You know, Prime wants him to go to New York so bad, probably at number 3.
They should. The Jets and the Giants at this point should be allowed to combine teams.
They still could draft Shador at 3. I mean, you could.
Maybe we could do, like, for the NFL draft that could be fun before the actual draft is we'll sit down and let's do a draft if we combine the Jets and the Giants to make one team. What players are we taking? Because that's where we're at.
Already talking Giants in March.
No, I'm not talking Giants, but come on. What did you... Dude. Your mind must have been a little broken when you saw that.
No, my mind immediately went to you. I said, oh, fuck, Jerry's going to be so pissed.
Poor guy. Poor son.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, why? But it's just why. I don't get it.
We've mentioned a few times how much we appreciate the ratings and reviews on the show. It does help on Apple and Spotify particularly. And before we give you the Wendy's fresh moves. We're going to take a second. We're going to read another one. Hold on. Let me see. Got a few. Okay. I like this guy. I promise this one's not me. The name is NYC Football. So someone right now who wrote this review, not too happy, either Jets or Giants fan. But NYC Football says chemistry between these guys, that's us, is great. Show's getting better every episode. Feel like I'm in their real life entourage.
Did your boy write that?
That does seem like someone I would know that wrote that, or maybe even me. It wasn't me. This is a real review. You could see it, but it does help us. So if you get a second.
What would our real life entourage look like? Am I Vinny Chase and your turtle, or am I turtle to your Vinny Chase?
I don't think
just fucking rocking. We're just rocking and rolling, just fucking Matt and Jerry.
I don't have Vinny Chase vibes. I just never have. You're Vinny Chase, bro. That's it. You're Vinny Chase. I think I could be a good E right now. Like,
I think you're a good E. I think you're more than Turtle.
So we have 2 spots open. We have Johnny Drama open and we have Turtle open. So
I still can't look like. It's so funny, dude, because obviously now that I know you, I can't look at you in pictures of Turtle and just look at you the same.
Early years?
You were fucking 250 pounds.
I wasn't 250. That's a little extreme. I was 205. You
got shout out. I mean, you look fantastic, dude. I'm just saying, it's just crazy.
You got to remember something too, Matt. I came in like a little heavy, but also once something starts working,
you just add
then it's just, and look, the fat jokes worked and it became a thing.
Yeah, you played it up.
And you've been on sets before. You're in SAG. You get around those craft service tables at 6 in the morning when you haven't eaten anything yet, and there's fresh, hot Krispy Kreme donuts just sitting there on the table with good coffee. They'll take your coffee order. It's just a great place.
This is great.
Great place to put on some weight. It really
is. When I was super fat when I was little, my brother would go to my mom and he would be like, "Mom, like, what are we gonna do about Maddie? He's so fat." This is when he was like 15
He's
and I'm
fat
10.
shaming you when you're 10
and
years old.
And God bless my mom. My mom was like, "Don't worry, he'll grow out of it. He'll grow out of it." And sure enough, I grew out of it. But dude, there's some rough years, bro.
How tall is your bro?
6 feet, dude.
So is he considered? Is that more normal? Like, is your height an aberration in your family? You're what, about 6'5", flat foot?
We used to say it was a mailman, but it couldn't have been the mailman. Not one person in my family is over 6'1", and that's extended everything. So I'm an anomaly.
Well, you got some like great grandfather who
I don't.
Somewhere
I think a great uncle who might have been 6'2", maybe. Dude, my grandparents were short. My mom was
short.
Tall. My mom was was like 5'8", 5'7", 5'8", and growing up, in the 60s, 70s, that was pretty tall. My dad's 5'11", so like, yeah, man, I don't know what happened, but yeah, dude, shout out to. Shout out to all the fat kids
turtle.
Out there. You can change. Yeah,
you said if I was 250, I'd have to be hospitalized at 5'6".
Dude, you're 5'9".
5'9". I love it. Yes, keep it coming.
Did I just give you 5'9"?
You gave me 5'6". If I was 5'9", I'd be Vince.
Bro, 5'6", 2 bills.
Yes, 205.
2 bills.
Yep.
Damn. Look at you now, bro.
Host
of throwbacks.
Well, again, give us some more of those ratings and reviews. We do appreciate it. And now it's time for Fresh Moves of the Week, brought to you by Wendy's. Head to the Wendy's app to get a $1 JBC or a $1 double stack with offer and additional purchase. All right, each week we're going to pick our Fresh Moves of the Week, and it's hard for me to ignore. Again, I'm new to NIL and trying to keep up with transfer portals and all that. 750 men's hoops players, student athletes entered the transfer portal.
Gone.
Already? There was already 250 there from other coaching changes and stuff like that. They're expecting well over 1,000, maybe 2,000. Who knows, Matt? Is this now just
crazy,
free
dude.
agency? It's free agency, right?
Well, yeah.
I have a question for you.
We talked about it during college football. Remember the backup quarterback for Penn State?
Yes.
Before the play, he bounced. And because that's when the portal window opens. So it leaves these players a limited amount of time to either stay or go find another home somewhere, which then obviously you're leaving your team. And I think Pippen, like Scottie Pippen's son, did that. He was on Michigan. Yeah. Michigan's still playing, obviously, in the Sweet 16. And he wasn't, he's not playing a lot, but he left his team in the portal, and along with over 700 players that you said. It's the same thing that we talked about in football. The windows need to be changed.
Yes.
It's crazy. Like there's not really an answer that we have. Like the windows are open this time. Players are going to leave and go find another opportunity somewhere else if they can. And that's the way it is.
But how crazy is it even? I think one player, so St. John's, right, gets bounced in the second round. They couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. They couldn't hit water if they fell off a boat in that game. And I hate what happened to Lewis and how that team, how the fans started like going at him. That's horrible. But anyway, they clearly, the shooting was always a thing. They needed a shoot. They already got a shooter. Kid from Arizona State transferring, 6'5" wing, could shoot. They like already addressed one part of their thing that was a loss. So it felt like a free agency acquisition.
Isn't it crazy? Like a lot of these schools now are hiring general managers. You know, like
yeah,
you've
they
seen
have
that.
to.
They have to. So you have coaches, and we'll just take March Madness, college basketball coaches and GMs that are playing in the tournament, but have eyes and ears and people already looking to upholster the roster for the following year, because they know they're going to have guys that leave and they know there's going to be guys available. So that first day of the portal, when you get 500 kids, boom, you already have guys. And by the way, you have a coach practicing for a March Madness game while you probably have a GM on the computer doing all their recruiting rankings, reaching out to these kids. It's crazy that's happening, but that's the way this system is right now. And it's just the hard part is, like, it feels like there's not a lot of loyalty anymore on
That's
something.
what I was going to ask.
You know what I mean? Like and again, the argument from the athlete's perspective is coaches can leave and take more money, and they can leave a team, and I get that, right? And so now the players have a lot more say, a lot more power. They can kind of control some of their decisions, which is great. But you just don't see, like, back in the day when you signed a letter of intent, to go play for that school, and they were being loyal to you by offering you a scholarship, and you were being loyal to them by committing to that school and competing and doing your best and trying to, and hopes it works out. And then in the opposite, like maybe you would transfer a couple years in and all of that kind of stuff. And that just doesn't happen anymore. And to that point, there was a crazy graphic going around this week, and I want to ask you this, a little trivia question. So,
oh boy, okay. Not ready for this.
It's wild. We talk about the portal and just the constant change. So there's 16 teams, right? Sweet 16. There was a graphic out there that basically had the starting lineup for each team and where those players started in college. So they could have started at the school they're at, and they're still there.
For the Sweet 16.
From the Sweet 16. There is one team in the Sweet 16 where all 5 starters started at their school and have stayed at their school. One team. Can you guess that team?
Oh, man. All right.
There's a couple teams that have 4 of the 5 starters.
And their 5th, it's not so much that they went to the end. They switched schools. They're at other schools.
Yep.
Got it.
One team in the Sweet 16.
I'm not confident, but I'm going to say Maryland.
Nope.
No.
Oh, same conference though. Big Ten.
I don't even know. I got to pull up who's remaining too.
I'll tell you.
Tell me, please.
Purdue.
I was gonna say.
So all 5 starters on Purdue started at Purdue. They haven't left. Whether freshmen, they have some older guys too. Michigan State, 4 of 5 start at Michigan State. Duke actually 4 or 5.
That I knew.
Freshmen.
I knew Duke wasn't the.
And then you go into some of these teams like BYU 3.
BYU's got a player coming in next year though.
Yeah, I mean Houston 3 of 5, Maryland I think 2 of 5 based on.
Oh, my
this
guess
graphic.
was terrible. Maryland.
Yeah, Tennessee only 2, but like there's a couple that all 5 or one, like Auburn. I think just one from Auburn. The rest of the starters all came from somewhere else, if I'm not mistaken. It's just crazy, and it goes to the point. It's like especially in hoops where you can be one and done and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just,
so two things for you on this. Like, look, I totally get. If you're not getting playing time, but you were a big recruit and you've shown some promise, and for whatever reason you're not getting playing time, you go in the portal. Got it. I also get the coaching change. Hey, it was this guy brought me here. It's totally different. I'm just new start for me. Great. How much, if at all, though, is this really saying, I just could get more money here? You know, like, do you think that's becoming a main reason why some of these things? Because the playing time part is like tried and true. And in football, I really, really get it. You know, you just want to get reps and get seen. Basketball, you know, you could still go off on your potential even if you don't get the playing time. I mean, is it as simple as some of these guys just could get more money elsewhere?
Dude, same as football. Absolutely.
Right.
You have, and that's why we've seen sort of the Cinderella kind of fade this year in the first, you know, like which
Gotta
we
be
have.
careful with that. Cinderella will be dead soon.
It's the first time since 2007 that there are no teams seeded number 11 or higher in the Sweet 16. The top 16 teams in the tournament all won their first round games. That's the first since 2017. Yeah, it's just to your point. I think a lot of these mid majors, lower level schools, you have a really good player. That it's the same thing in college football. And I tell a lot of kids this: if you're a quarterback, especially, or whoever, and it's like to go play for a smaller school, group of 5 school, compete, start, ball, then in 2 years, Georgia's are coming calling, Oregon are coming calling, because you have the experience, and you're going to go get a bag. It's the same thing in basketball. I mean, you go out there and play for a mid-level team, a mid-major team, and you average 15 to 20 a game, or you have a nice little tournament where you have 1 or 2 good games. Dude, bro, you're getting a payday somewhere else. That's what we've seen. That's what we're seeing in the portal now. It's just wild. Yeah. So I think a lot of it, I would say most of it is chasing the money and a better opportunity potentially.
Shout out Wendy's, because we gave you 750 fresh moves right there, because 750 players went to the portal. Before we bring in Raymond Felton, I always try to think how I could equate sort of my job and my business into sports. So what's like the transfer portal in Hollywood, and can there be one? The answer is no, of course. It's a silly thing to think of. But I racked my brain trying to think what would be a good equivalent, and I think I came up with it. Mm-hmm. A transfer portal for characters killed off of shows. Now, here's why they need the transfer portal. I'm going to bring you quickly through the process of getting killed off a show. It's happened to me multiple times.
Josie got killed off a show.
Well, the biggest thing is, with Power, and Power had multiple deaths a week, they bring you in like Hard Knocks. Courtney Kemp would call me in, say, bring your script. It's like when they're cutting the player on Hard Knocks, bring your script. You're like, oh, it's happening. But the biggest thing is, it's not that you can't take another job right away. You just got to be really secretive, because if we shot my death scene and I take a job the next day and then it gets announced in the trades, oh, Jerry Ferrara is on The Office, you could kind of say, oh, we know he's getting killed off Power then. It tips the ending off. So a lot of times they want you to wait to take a job and really do a good job about not announcing it. I think a transfer portal for characters killed off would be a good, easy way with rules written in to transition on another show.
So what show would you go to?
Like when I was getting killed off Power, and
and
if I was let's see. I mean, it might have been nice to pop up on, I don't know, like a Handmaid's Tale or something, something dark. I don't know. Keep the drama going. It's a good show, man.
Great.
Maybe pop up on Ted Lasso, even though there's only 2.
You just went from Handmaid's Tale to Ted Lasso.
I'm just trying to think of the last 2 shows I watched while Power was on. I don't know.
Watch a White Lotus right now. That's good.
We'll do a White Lotus recap at some point.
We should start doing recaps on here.
White Lotus got weird,
I binged the last
White
Kingdom.
Lotus is at all-time HBO. Are you caught up on White Lotus?
No, I'm not. So don't say anything.
We'll talk later. I guarantee you'll watch it and you will text me.
I've been trying to get everyone's talking about it online, so I'm trying not to look into like what happens. I don't know anything that happens. We've only watched 2 episodes, so we're far behind.
All right. Well, you at some point. Well, I guarantee I'll get a WTF from you at some point as you get along in the season. All right. Again, thanks, Wendy's, and now let's bring on Raymond Felton. All right. Thanks for joining us. Right. We were just talking a little bit before you jumped on too. I celebrated the 20-year anniversary last year with Entourage. It was 20 years since Entourage started. And then we were kind of looking back. You're coming up on 20 years since your national championship with UNC. There's something about that number, that 20-year number. I don't know why. It just really starts to reflect.
Makes you feel
back.
old.
Has it hit you yet? There's been 20 years since the national championship?
Yeah, man. We just early in the year we had our reunion. We did it during football season just because a lot of guys coaching and a lot of guys can't move around like that during basketball season. So it was just fun, man, to get back with my old teammates. We still keep in contact. We all like brothers. We still have our group chat. We keep in contact with each other throughout the year. But just to get with everybody and see everybody, man, it was so real just to relive that moment and just to see videos and we had like a little slideshow that we did and everything. So it was fun to see. It was fun for my family to see it. Who wasn't there to be a part of it when I was a young buck. So it was one of those moments where you can never take that from me. That's probably one of my biggest parts of my career is winning that national championship because it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do.
I remember, we were in college at the same time. I was at USC, and when you look at USC football, it's a football school. The Cardinal and gold. It's just something about wearing that jersey, and then you look at all the former players. Marcus Allen, Ronnie Lotz, and all those guys. I can own, and I love basketball. I grew up playing basketball. My oldest son played basketball forever. Like, what is it like wearing like a North Carolina basketball uniform? Like, I just as a fan, I got to imagine like walking around that school, being the starting point guard for a national championship team. It's got to be like pretty electric.
Best colorway in all of hoops too, man. Best colorway ever. Best colorway ever.
One thing I can say, man, Carolina fans is amazing. They travel. They everywhere you go. I don't care where I played at. When I was in the NBA, there was always Carolina fans there. There was always fans at the games, and it's I don't know, man. It's like a fraternity, like guys like Vince and like even MJ, James Worthy, Rasheed Wallace, Jerry Stackhouse. The list goes on. Even Julius Peppers was like a real good friend of mine who played football, and he also played basketball in Carolina.
He could hoop, right? He could hoop too,
could really
right?
could jump out the gym.
You should have seen him coming off the edge, though. That shit was scary.
I believe it. But the history goes on, man, and it's like a brotherhood. Like I could call any of those guys to this day, and I didn't even play with them, and it's like family, So I think it means a whole lot more than just the name and the colors and just the history. It's like a big fraternity. We all look out to each other. We all like family. I don't care how far it goes back. Some of these guys I never even played with. Some of these guys I watched playing growing up. Some of them I never even seen play. I just see clips of them, and it still doesn't matter. It's like family, man. So putting on that jersey and being a part of that is it's special. Something that is going to be with me for the rest of my life.
So I had the pleasure of going to a UNC Duke game. At Duke. So I didn't go to Chapel Hill. I was at Duke, but I've been to a lot of sporting events. It was like, this one was a bucket list one. And do you have any unique stories about that rivalry? And I know you played against Reddick, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Reddick is literally outside of Christian Laettner, like the most. I always thought like Duke always you had like Laettner, you had Reddick, you had Grayson Allen, you had like three of the top five, probably most hated college basketball players of all time. Right. Do you have any stories playing against JJ or just that rivalry in general?
Well, no, really don't have no stories. JJ, me and JJ have been battling with each other ever since high school. We was in the same McDonald's game, just AAU and just going to college. Him going to Duke, me going to Carolina, and it's just always been a rivalry and a battle. JJ is one of those guys that he didn't really get up under my skin, but I know Jackie Manuel got up under his skin because Jackie Manuel was on him like white on rice, man. But it was fun. I think the rivalry and the junk talking and all that stuff really comes from the fans and the students more than me. Than, you know what I'm saying? Because actually, Sean Docker is like one of my good friends even to this day. And he went to Duke, and it was never no bad blood. But when we stepped on the court against each other, it was like we wasn't friends. It was time to compete and was trying to win the game. But when it comes to JJ, though, JJ was always one of those guys that he could shoot the piss out of the ball. and I guess people just didn't like him. He always had that little arrogant look about him, and the guys just didn't like it. But it did bother me. JJ cool with me. We got a chance to play with each other, with the Clippers in the league as well. So everything comes in full circle, man. But that rivalry is like, man, playing in Cameron.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You got the students and the fans on top of you. They can sometimes when you take the ball out, they can touch you on your back. That's how close they are. So, but it's fun though. It's electric.
Yeah, we talk a lot on this show about rivalries, even in professional sports. And it feels like, look, there's certainly rivalries in professional sports still. You got Celtics, Lakers, which they might be on a collision course this year. Who knows? But it really does feel like the college level, and a lot of that might change now with NIL and transfer portals everywhere. And maybe those rivalries will start to fizzle out. But it really does feel like Duke UNC is one of the last few remaining that, even if you're not a fan of either of the two teams, you're still putting that game on. I want to ask you though, just going back to how aware were you guys as players? Does this even come up when Coach Roy Williams, he hadn't gotten that monkey off his back of winning a title? Like, is that something that you guys are all young players at the time. Like, is that ever even discussed, like getting coaches first, or you're just so locked in on the mission at hand? Because I feel like I would know, like, this guy's been at it for so long. We want to be the team to get him that first one.
No question. I mean, that was definitely part of it. We wanted to do it for the school. We wanted to do it for ourselves. We wanted to do it for our families. And of course, definitely wanted to do it for Coach, because he's been there and he could never get over that hump. So to be able to be a part of that first team to get him his first, national championship, I mean, that's, all of them is going to be special to him. All of them, all the players are going to be special to him. But I think the one that he got with us is going to be always stuck in his mind and his head because,
of course,
it was his first one. It was his first one, and it was a beautiful run, man. It was tough, battling against Michigan State in that Final Four, and then going playing against Illinois in that championship game with a lot of talented.
Great game, man. I mean, great. That was such a good game. I watched some of it back, and I will have to admit, Raymond, I did look back at the Villanova game. All right. Have you looked though? Only because it's so funny all these years later.
Right.
Alan Ray and the travel. I don't know how often you've been asked that but I watched it 10 times. I'm trying to figure out, man, by like NBA standards now, this isn't even close. Like, have you seen, when's the last time you even seen that play? Cause I think you guys win anyway. I really do. I don't think that was like the deciding factor of the game, but at the time I remember being a kid watching it and be like, yeah, he kind of took an extra half step there, which now that's not even debated. That's no travel, right?
Right. I mean, it was a big play. It was definitely a gutsy call, but hey, listen, I'm glad he made it, because I got in foul trouble that game and I actually found out, but my guy Melvin Scott, he stepped up and he hit 4 free throws to seal the game, to win the game at the end right there. So, one thing I tell people, man, no matter, who's supposed to be the best player on the team, who's supposed to be the man, who's supposed to be what, it always be somebody that comes off the bench or don't play as many minutes that steps up in order for you to win the championship. All of that stuff happens, man. Injuries, everybody being healthy, all kind of stuff mixed into that. And I think, it was just God's plan for us to win it that year. Everything just came in our favor. Everything was working for us. We was playing great basketball. We was locked in. It was just, a blessing for us, man, for real.
What I saw, now look, I'm, again, admittedly huge Knicks fan, so I know a lot about your career. You're one of my favorite Knicks. So I start looking at that McDonald's game. I see you in the dunk contest, man. This is what I'm saying. Normal civilian fans don't realize, because Raymond Felton is just not dunking 4 times a game in the NBA. You think like, oh, he probably doesn't really have a dunk package. I saw some of the dunk, man. You should have dunked more in the NBA. You throwing it down.
Well, I did used to have a pretty. I actually had a 42 inch vertical. So
42.
Yeah, so I could really get up. But
yeah,
once I got into the league, man, listen, when you get knocked out the air by Shaquille O'Neal and Dwight Howard, Andrew Bynum, some of these big dudes that was in the league at the time when I first got in the league, when you get knocked out the air trying to go dunk, you learn to shoot a floater. You learn to shoot a floater, so there ain't no more dunking. There ain't no more trying to jump. Like these guys like John Morant and Anthony Edwards, these young guys now.
Scary.
Man, the way they get up now and jumping like that, I would like to have seen how they did that with Shaq and those guys is up under that rim.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago and there was a lot of talk about the NBA All-Star game and just how you fix it, how you don't, what's wrong with it. I'm more curious of the dunk contest because you were a dunker back in the day. Why don't the Anthony Edwards of the world, Ja Morant's of the world, some of these high flyers, why don't they enter the dunk contest like it used to be? Because back in the day, I mean, LeBron's never done it, I don't think, right? Kobe did it. Vince Carter was the greatest. Like, we just don't see the faces of the NBA that can get up do that. Why is that?
I have no clue. That's something that I've always asked and always just been like, just why? And I never really got a legit answer. But I don't know. I would love to see that. I would love to see John Morant, Anthony Edwards, Zion Williamson, Zach LaVine. Like, I would like to see a dunk contest. Aaron Gordon, these guys who can really fly. I would like to see a dunk contest with all of them in just one contest, just to see what happens.
Yeah, Jerry, I've always wondered what it was like because I could dunk back in the day, but I had like the lazy hops.
Yeah, you had like that little I mean, you aren't like throwing it on someone.
I've always wondered what it's like to like dunk on somebody and like what it's like to run a 4.4, like just what it's like to be fast. That's it. As an athlete, I was a pretty good athlete, but I didn't have any fast twitch though. That's for sure.
You know what I wanted to ask you too before we dive into some other NBA stuff. So, we're talking about JJ, and I kind of came to this thought the other day, but I was just wondering from your perspective, someone who played the game at the highest level, right? So, JJ's in year one. Is it any kind of an advantage? And I know we saw it with Steve Nash, who was relatively recently retired. Like JJ has played against 80% of the current NBA, right? He's only been out of the game 2 years. I guess from a player perspective and from a coaching perspective, do you think that's any sort of advantage that he's played against these guys within the last 3 years? I always wondered that. Like, he's drawn up plays with guys. Like, obviously, he knows LeBron, but he's played against Jason Tatum. He played in Dallas with Luka. Like, he's played in the NBA recently.
I mean, I think that helps with relationship-wise. I think that helps with a level of respect that you have with each other because, you are literally a player's coach. I just, it also helps that you got LeBron James on your team too.
Right.
That helps a lot because, just the things he can do, the things he's doing at the age of 40. Like, listen, it hurt to get up this morning. So to see him do that at the same age I am right now is nothing but amazing. But I think JJ's doing a great job. I think he's a really good X and O, guy that draws up some good plays and he makes good adjustments, in games, before games. And I just, be interested to see what he does, over the next few years. But I think he's doing a great job so far. By far having a good year as a first coach, and I think, with his knowledge of the game, I think he'd be fine though.
You mentioned a little bit ago Shaq and just some of the old school big guys, and there's a lot of chatter about the eras, right? And I think Tim Hardaway was on, I think Gilbert's podcast, just roasting the dudes, like literally, like Swaggy, who's my boy from SE, to his face. Like, these guys just like, you couldn't play, you guys suck, blah, blah, blah. You played in this current era, but you had a cross, right? Because you played against Shaq, you played against some of those guys, Kobe in the mid 2000s. Where do you stand on this whole era debate on whether or not the old school guys could play in today's game, which is a lot more open and fast and shooting threes and all that, or whether or not the current guys are, quote unquote, tough enough to play back in the 80s and 90s? Where do you stand on that side? I'm just fascinated by it because I grew up Laker. I'm a diehard Laker fan. I grew up, the Shaq and Kobe era, even Showtime. I was a little kid, but it was different back then. Like, everything was through the center and it was more physical, felt like. Today, it's just a different game today.
Well, put like this: professionals are professionals, athletes are athletes,
Of
and
course.
I think back in the day it was very physical. The game was totally different than what it is now. It was a lot of just pound the ball in the paint, get the ball in the post, come off pin downs, ball screens, and just there was more physical guards back then. When I came in the league, point guards like Chauncey Billups and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andre Miller and these guys were physical dudes who would post you up and just the game is a whole lot different now. Point guards now are scoring 30 points a game and shooting threes from half court. Like the game is just evolving. The game is different now. To say that these young guys couldn't play back then, no, I can't say that because these guys are very talented, very athletic, and very skilled. But to say that these older guys couldn't play now is absurd because these dudes was physical, they was mean, and they was talented, and they was skilled. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of the old school guys think that the game is soft now, which the game is. They do. They can't touch no more.
Just the fouls, man.
Yeah,
It's the
like if you
fouls
see a
all
guy
the
get
time.
knocked
Just
out
let
the
them
air
play.
now, you might get a
Yeah.
flagrant and get thrown out the game. Dudes would get knocked out the air left and right back in the day. Like in the
Shit, Bill,
80s.
Bill
Like dudes was
Lambier
getting,
just coming, just
oh man, Bill
clothesline.
Lambier would probably be banned from the league at this point.
He wouldn't be in the league. There would be
that's
no
what I'm
Bill
saying.
Lambier
He'd
right
be
now.
banned from the league at this point. But
who was the toughest? I mean, because like Ben Wall, I'm trying to think of back. Like Ben Wallace was a dog inside. Like Rasheed was nasty. Like who was the
Those
toughest
Grizzly
dude
teams probably weren't fun
Zach
to go up against.
Zach Randolph.
yeah,
I
the
used to
most
see
physical
Zach.
team
Yeah.
was probably back when I played. The most physical team was by far Detroit. As far as their defense. But even with them being physical, it wasn't like a nasty physical like the old Detroit Bad Boys.
Right. They would beat your ass. Yeah. Old Detroit would beat you up.
It wasn't like that. Then you got Indiana too. Indiana was like that as well, with Ron Artest and all those guys. Those guys were really, really physical, played a lot of grit, hard defense. But yeah, to answer your question, man, I don't believe that neither one could not play in the era. Like I feel like the young guys could play then. I feel like the older guys could play now. So that's
you just would have had so much more space to operate. Like even if you look at, I know your game well from watching you in the NBA, and you just would have had so much more room. So I just think look at all your score. You just would have scored way more because this would have been more space. I feel like
more space, and then nobody could really touch me. And I was
right.
I like to play physical, so just with and I know a lot of people don't like this debate when it comes to MJ and LeBron. To me, they both are goats. MJ is mine because that's who I grew up watching.
Of course,
you know what I'm saying. But they both are goats. But if MJ played in this time where they couldn't be physical with him, then I mean, who tell how many points this man would have had, or how many
38 a game
he would have averaged? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So I mean, the game is different, and that's all I can say. The game is different now. They score way more points. It was unheard of to see two teams score over 140 points in a game.
We got Tom Thibodeau and the New York Knicks scoring 140, man. That's a box score I never thought I would see. A Tom Thibodeau coach team scoring 140 points. I just never thought I'd see that in my lifetime.
Exactly.
Where do you, Raymond, where do you put Kobe in that conversation? Because I feel like I'm like MJ, Kobe, and LeBron is great, clearly what he's been able to do. But I don't know if Kobe doesn't get enough credit, or he does get, because I've seen a lot of guys come on and say Kobe was is closest to MJ than anybody.
Yeah.
And I has some people who don't even have him in his top 10.
That's crazy.
You played him. I mean, that was the same era. Like where does he stack up against basically those two guys, right? That's the debate.
To me, he's number two. Like that's my opinion. To me, he's right behind MJ. For what he's done to the game, and like you said just a second ago, he's the closest thing to MJ. He's the closest things to it. Just his work ethic, the way he puts into the game, the way he studied the game, student of the game, always learning. Like MJ said, he always used to call him and ask him questions, trying to get better. And just what he's done for the game and what he's done during his time of playing. I mean, what can you really say? Man, for somebody to say that he's not in their top 10, that's crazy.
I don't know who. I mean,
Crazy
Jerry barely had him in the top 5. I think
that's not true.
Yes, it is.
You relax.
You said that.
I'm just older than you, so I remember Magic and Bird a little more than you because I'm older. But like,
I feel like if you look at Jordan, Kobe, like Tiger, and even
you're going
Tom,
all sports now.
No, I'm just thinking, and LeBron, and this isn't even a slap. Like we always talk about the killer instinct, and like the greatest athletes. Like those 4, in my opinion, are like the greatest athletes. And like I put Serena up there, and Gretzky, like you have all these guys, but like that killer instinct is just like you either have, like Tom Brady played to 45, and like people could say I trained with him. People would say, oh, he wasn't a great athlete. He was an absolute just psychopath when it came to like, I want to be the best of all time. That's to me what Kobe was. You know, it's like he was a psychopath. And you hear stories talking about like the guys that played with him and his work ethic and all that. Is like, to me, MJ's 1A and he's 1B. It's not even close.
I totally agree with you.
Some LA roots too. We got to talk about some New York things for a second.
You probably put Jalen Brunson in your top 5 right now.
Of course. Well, speaking of Brunson,
he's a dog,
all right.
I do love Jalen.
So, diehard Knick fan. I very, very happy with Brunson and all that. But I've always said this is something like on all my Knicks group chats, and I'm in 10 million of them, right? Even before Brunson, it was like, who was the last point guard the Knicks had? It's like, it's easy. It's obvious. It's Raymond Felton. That's the last point guard before Brunson that we Knicks fans had that felt like real leadership, all the things you want out of a top point guard. So you get to the Knicks and you were balling, right? And I'm still like, don't know how to feel about the Melo trade because I love Melo and, one of the great Knicks, but like, was kind of shortchanged because he didn't have a ton of weapons around him because most of the weapons went in the damn trade. So like all I can say is as a Knicks fan, I was super happy to get Melo, but I remember being a little younger saying like, but he's got to play with Felton, man. That's like the whole point. So like, I don't want to go too far back in the past and make you relive that stuff, but like before that trade happened, were you really feeling like New York was home for you? Because you know how it is in New York too. When we latch on to a player, man, that love lasts forever.
Oh no,
ever.
And listen, I still get love to this day from New York,
Always.
From the fans, and when I go out there and go to games and stuff. That trade, man, I think that's the one trade I think hurt because it was my first time getting traded, and I was having such a great year, man.
You were like 18-10.
Yeah,
I think
I got snubbed from the All-Star game that year.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was gonna make it and got snubbed, and just having a great year in a big city, and if you win in New York, you know how it goes. You win in New York, man. New York loves you, man. It was beautiful. So when they was talking about getting Melo, I was like, okay, we gonna have a chance to win this thing, because we was already like top 5, top 6 in the East at that time, but you add a guy like Melo to that team and he still be able to keep some pieces. I said, we gonna have a shot. So I wasn't even in that trade, at the beginning.
You shouldn't have been.
Last minute, I got thrown in the trade the last minute, and I was just like, oh my goodness. It hurt. And I ended up coming back.
I will talk.
After that, but it hurt, man. It was just one of those moments where it was just like, I still, I did what I had to do when I got to Denver.
Yes.
But it was just like it was just unhappiness because, I just didn't want to leave New York. It was just good times and it was fun. It was fun.
So you represent for a lot of Knicks fans like this kind of last moment up until the recent 2-3 years of this team where it's like the last time we had an all-star level point guard was you. And then you come back to the Knicks, right? Now, I don't know if that was like, I don't know how that feels coming back for you. Were you like, okay, I'm finally back now. We could do this thing because that 2013 team wins 54 games.
Right.
That up until, again, the last 2-3 years, that team, that was the last Knicks team to get out of the first round in a year. And like everything kind of collapsed once that team fell apart. But you get back to the Knicks, was that like bittersweet, or is that like, okay, no, I'm back where I belong. Let's run this because now I can play with Melo and all these guys.
Right. No, it was one of those situations where I wanted to come back, and I got the phone call. Mello actually called me. Coach Winston called me, and they signed Jay Kidd. So, and I was before I even got there, and so I was a little iffy about going at first because I'm like, listen, this is Jason Kidd, like this is Hall of Famer point guard, somebody that I idoled, somebody that I looked up to, and it's like if he's going there, then what am I coming there for? You know what I'm saying? And it was just a phone call that I had with him, and I decided to come. And then when I got there, the crazy thing about it, when I got there, and Jason Kidd was just like, "This is your team," and
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?" He was like, "This is your team. We gonna go as you go. You're gonna be the guy who gonna be the leader of this team, who gonna run this offense, and we gonna go as far as you take us." And I was like, "Wow!" So to get that type of confidence coming back from a guy like Jason Kidd, and him to just learn from him. I mean, he used to tell me things on the court with plays before I even saw it. He would tell me what was going to happen, and it happened. Like, so, man, shout out to him, man. He's just a great coach, great, teammate, just an all around great person, man. He did a lot for me in that second stint when I came back to New York, man. He did.
Freaking Roy Hibbert turned into Bill Russell in the second round out of nowhere, man. I don't understand what happened, Matt. You probably don't remember because you don't watch much. Like, beat the Celtics easily, J.R. Smith ball, and all of a sudden just control the series. And then Roy Hibbert turns into Bill Russell, blocking Melo at the rim. I've never seen anything like it. I'm still pissed about. And then Roy Hibbert was gone. That's it. He did that, and then that type of center was like out of the NBA. So mad, Ray. I'm so mad about it. Still.
Yeah, me too, because I thought we had a chance, man. I felt like we was the one team that could compete with Miami because we beat Miami 3 times out of 1 that year. So, we was one of the teams that I don't think Miami wanted to see that year.
Stat was on that team?
Yeah, Stat was on that team too.
Yeah, I used to.
Tyson Chandler, defensive player of the year.
Tyson Chandler, yeah. I was in Arizona when Stat was in Phoenix, man. Those Phoenix, it was probably around. When did Stat go to Phoenix after New York?
No,
he was there before.
Yeah, he came up with Nash.
Okay, that's
and
right.
Then
that's
he
right.
Signed.
Well, no, it was like Nash, Boris Diaw. They had a Barbosa. They were like running gun with D'Antoni. You played for D'Antoni? No.
Yeah, that was the first time I came to New York. Yep.
Yeah.
Is all that true with D'Antoni? Of like, I forget. There's like this urban legend story which you never know is true. Where they're like, I don't know if it was a Knicks or a Suns team. Where he's like drawing up plays, and like one of the players like, "Coach, what about defense?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. Just outscore him." Was he really that offensive mind? I mean, I'm sure he talked defense with you guys, but he goes down as like an offensive guru,
Oh no, he's an offensive like wizard. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The things he can draw up, the way his offense goes. If you're a guard in his offense or point guard in his offense, you're gonna have some of your best numbers, your best.
Oh yeah.
Playing up under him. But as far as defense, like everybody has a defensive coach. So Coach Mike Woodson was actually the defensive coach on that team, which was crazy. Then he ended up being the head coach.
Right.
Next time I came back around. But and it's so funny is that I've known Coach Mike D'Antoni even when I was in high school because his brother Dan D'Antoni was my AAU coach.
Oh, really? And he's an offensive dude too, right?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just run and gun, man. Just run and gun.
Run and gun. I'm telling you.
I'm curious because we talked before you jumped on a little bit about club hoops, and I've witnessed it kind of firsthand at like the Made Hoops tournament, and then my son flirted with a little bit of EYBL. But do you teach, because you coach, and do you teach, because the game has changed so much? We talked about earlier where it was, center driven, you throw it in the post and you work around a big, and obviously that now the bigs are shooting threes and they can run the point and all that. How do you teach the game to your kids? Curiously, because when I teach quarterback, it's hard now because the game is run out of the shotgun and the game is run of the RPO that you hear. And it's not as much under center with the old school play action, which I still believe, we all know this, like you still make your money and win games from playing within the tackles, throwing the football. What is your perspective and approach on coaching like the next generation of kids?
These generation of kids are definitely different, but I think, as teachers and as coaches, we still have to still teach these kids the basics. you know. And I think when you
Mhm.
look at a lot of these kids now, they're very talented. They're probably way more talented, way more athletic than we were. But the thing we knew about the game is we knew the basics. You know what I'm saying? So if you could put us in any type of offense and we could survive, we knew how to play. That's why you see a lot of these kids now, they struggle now because a lot of them don't really understand how to play. They just
Right.
playing off raw talent, raw athleticism. You know what I'm saying? And I think with me as a coach, what I do, I still teach the basics. I teach the little small things. You know, these kids now want to just come out and do a straight step back on a three. I'm like, no, that's that's not realistic.
Steph
That's not how
Curry
it
screwed
goes.
everything up.
That's my oldest son's only move to step back. And he's good
Steph
at it. I'm
Curry
like,
screwed
come on.
everything
Hey,
up, man.
listen,
We blame
he-
Steph for
he's not
that.
the
I
only
begged
one.
him to go in the post. I begged him to go in the post. I was like, dude, you're a 6'4" guard. You're big and strong. The dude's guarding you might be like, but like you're big. Use your body and like look at. I would always say like Kobe's game. Kobe would go in the post as like it bothers me, man, because I
Too
love
old,
hoops.
Matt. You're too old, bro.
Dude, that's like me and Jerry, man. When we play the 40-year-old pickup, like by the way, I ain't going in the post no more. I just shoot outside because I don't want to get fouled. But I'm saying like the post is like the old school. Man, these
Yeah.
kids don't know. They don't know.
Nah,
what
they
it's
don't,
like.
man. But you know, I just, you know, I can relate to the kids because I was able to play in both
Yeah.
eras. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like I still have to be. You guys still got to be firm with these kids because you know a lot of these kids now, unfortunately, you know they're spoiled. You know they didn't come up and was raised the way we was. So you know these kids now are spoiled. They're a little softer than we are in certain ways. And I don't mean softer, sensitive. Let me say that word. They're
Yeah.
a little more
They're
sensitive than we are.
by far.
You know, and you know, we didn't have transfer portals and you know these. I love the NIL deal part of it. Now the transfer portal I really don't like because, you know, a kid now, if you hard on the kid and you holding the kid accountable, if he don't like it, now I'm leaving his school and you're
Or
not
you're
going to
gonna
learn
get
that way.
fired
You're not
too.
going to get
Shit.
better that way. You know, I don't like that part of it, but it is what it is. But we just got to continue to just keep teaching these kids the basics, man, and really staying on them and really teaching them how to play basketball rather than just throwing the ball out there and just say, look, who's the most talented? That's who's going to win this game. You know, that ain't gonna work when you get in college. That ain't gonna work when you get into the NBA or even overseas. You know what I'm saying? So you got to really just teach them the basics.
A lot of I was laughing because a lot of people ask me about NIL, and I'm all for it. And we shout out the O'Bannon brothers, man, because they spearheaded the whole thing. Everyone used to say I took a pay cut from going to USC to the NFL. What?
You probably did. You probably
What?
did.
That's bullshit. I didn't. But I mean, I can't speak for other guys. But what was there, any story you could tell about? I mean, I can only imagine 20 years later, because we can speak freely about this now because we can't get in trouble. Being a North Carolina basketball player had to come with its perks.
Oh, 100%. I was okay in college. Put it like that.
You're good.
I was good. I was okay in college. I didn't have too many worries when I was in college. I'll put it like that.
Man, those are the good old
now
days.
though, in these NIL deals now,
it's crazy. But
You
said
guys would have cleaned up. The two of you.
I'm acting like AJ, the number one kid in the country that went to BYU.
Yeah,
I need $7.
right?
I need $7 million. No, I'm kidding.
It is. I hear some of these stories and
listen. I love the game
things
so
they
much.
ask for is wild.
I love the game so much, man. I was just grateful and happy to go to Carolina, and I was the number one player in the country coming out of high school. I was the Naismith National Player of the Year in high school that year in 2002, and I just wasn't on that type of time. I was just grateful, just a little kid out of Atlanta, South Carolina, that was just grateful to be in the situation I was in, to go to school and play college ball at a dream school and had an opportunity to, better myself there and possibly get to the NBA. And that's all my focus was. I really wasn't thinking about how much money I could get or, anything. And the great thing, my parents wasn't like that too. I'm not going to call the school out, but we was offered millions of dollars, from another school, plus a house, plus cars, all kind of stuff. And my mama just looked at me and said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "I want to go to Carolina." And she said, "Okay." And they turned the deal down.
That's great.
Yeah, they turned the deal down, and it ended up working out for all of us.
Yeah.
At the end. So, it's one of those things now, man, where the game is just not the same no more. You have parents out here selling their kids for money.
Yeah.
Even in the AAU game, man. I'm dealing with that now in AAU. The teams are offering people money, kids money, families money to get their kid to just come play for their team. And to me, what I'm telling parents is, what is that teaching your kid? You're not caring about what are these kids are learning, how are these kids developing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just not with that. I don't like that.
I remember one kid, I think it was 7th grade or 8th grade, we're at Made Hoops, and I think before like the third stop, like you could switch a team or whatever, and then after the third, whatever, you couldn't. I remember seeing a kid literally play for 3 different teams in one day, and I don't remember the name, but he was a top kid, and he would just take his jersey off, he'd go throw that, and I was like, what the fuck, dude?
What's going on?
It was the same shit. It was just like parents, like the coaches are poaching the kids. There's probably some handshakes going on to get the kid to come play for them. And I was like, man, like to your point, Raymond, like the parents are almost just as bad. Not all the parents, and you're lucky, obviously you had a great one, but like they're not all like that, and it's unfortunate. So
yes, it is.
I don't know.
Yes, it is.
Well,
totally.
That's all very unrelatable to me. No one ever offered me money to play anywhere or anything. I don't think they're going to offer my kids any money. And I'm going to be a good sports parent because my kid's going to be playing, we're going to just be talking about playing time. Last thing, Raymond, then we're going to let you go. Just so for you, your all-time UNC team. You could put yourself on there. You could leave yourself off. We're talking about the UNC greats. And again, it could be guys you played with that some of us might not put on there. But who's your North Carolina 5?
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah, you go any direction.
No. It's tough. For me, point guard, I'm going to go with Phil Ford.
Okay, great.
I told you, Jerry. I told you.
I'm going to go with Phil Ford. 2, I'm going to go with obviously MJ at the 2 guard. Go with MJ. Now the three spot is where it gets tricky.
That's tough.
3 spots where it gets tricky because you can go Vince, you can go Jerry Stackhouse, you can go.
It's tough. That's probably the toughest spot. You're right.
Man, you can go so many places, but I'm gonna go with Vince at my 3. The 4 is tough too because you got my big bro Rasheed. Got my big bro, Antoine Jameson. You got James Worthy.
Yeah, that's tough.
You got James Worthy. But for me, if I just had to choose one just off the history, just off, what I know about, James Worthy, I'm going to go with him at the 4 spot. And then for me at the 5 spot, I know when I said this before, a lot of people was like, oh, you ain't going to go with Tyler Hansborough? I like Tyler. I think he's a great player. He did a lot of great stuff in college basketball. But for me, I'm going with my big fella at the 5 spot. I'm going Big Sean May.
Big Sean May.
Yeah.
I'm going with my guy.
Oh, God.
I'm going with my guy.
That's a great squad.
I had Hansborough in there. Hansborough was a dog.
I'm with
Felton, man.
In college, he was
Felton.
That's it. Anytime you got bloodied, you're just bloodied and you're just bodying people out there. He was
obviously, like, you can't go wrong picking James Worthy. It's one of the
UNC,
best
man,
players.
all-time
But,
greats.
I love the way, like, the legend of Rasheed Wallace continues to grow. Like, even former NBA players just talk about, like, just guys who would have thrived today. When we have that conversation of what guy back to, like,
yes, sir.
I mean,
Rasheed Wallace.
He had the whole pad. He had everything. He shooting threes before big men shot threes.
And can shoot threes with his left hand. Just as good as his right. Just as good as his right. I'm so serious. Listen, I was playing for the Bobcats, and that's when Detroit was Detroit.
Right.
And they was beating us so bad that he started shooting threes left-handed. And he hit like 3 in a row.
I gotta see if we can find this footage. That's crazy.
He was shooting threes left-handed, man. It was bad. It was bad.
Can't thank you enough.
Ray, we appreciate you, man.
One of my favorite players to watch over the years. And
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ray. All right. Should we do some mailbag now? That was awesome that Raymond Felton stopped by. I still will never be over the Mello trade. I know we talked about it in the interview. It's still That's like the big what if for Knicks fans. But anyway,
you've just been haunted being a New York fan your whole life.
Yeah, it's.
We'll bring you to the West. You're a pseudo LA guy too, though.
I never caught on to any LA team. I enjoyed watching Kobe and the Lakers all those years. Like as a fan, I went to a lot of games. Can't get into the Kings. Rams weren't even there when I was living in LA, and definitely not rooting for any LA football.
It's not a football town anymore.
It's not. All right, let's do some mailbag stuff because that's been working. I think I pulled 2 good ones. You want me to take? I could take the first. You take the second.
Yeah. What do you got?
All right. We're going to go to Leinart in Detroit, who is probably happy that the Pistons are doing well. But he says, Jerry, there are a lot of big-time cameos and Entourage over the years. Any of them cause you to feel starstruck?
I think you talked about that once, right?
A little bit.
Was it Phil?
Well, Phil was definitely, it was starstruck early, but then he's so good at like disarming you and like being a normal dude. We played some golf too while he was shooting. So that went. The Brady thing was definitely a little starstruck at the time because also the way he came in. But again, that went quick. Kanye didn't have me starstruck. And again, this is Kanye 15 years ago. There was a moment there where he was like so late, we wondered if he was coming at all for his cameo. I will say the one that got me a little bit was Matt Damon. Matt Damon got me a little bit. Also, it was like Matt Damon, LeBron James, and Bono all shot on the same day. So that's pretty sick. Even some of the scenes I wasn't in, I said, I have to show up for some of these scenes. This is like one. But when you look at a call sheet, it'll give you the scenes for the day and the time. And it's like, first up, it's Matt Damon and LeBron James. And then second up, we have this quick thing with Bono. And then we're finishing with this like Matt Damon meltdown scene that he's going to improv. I'm like, I gotta show up. It's for the kids, Vince. It's for the kids. That's his famous line. It's for the kids, Vince.
I love it. All right. David at Orlando, saw your guys build your perfect quarterback video on Instagram the other day, where you were allowed to use quarterbacks from any era. Now do it just the quarterbacks playing today.
I got a lot of heat for mine, but my Peyton Manning accuracy for all time, I got a lot of heat.
You did. Well, you put Eli Manning in there for clutch.
Yes, I got more heat for Peyton for accuracy. I got a lot of heat for that.
Okay, arm strength. I'm going to go Josh Allen. I'll just build mine really quick. Arm strength, Josh Allen. Accuracy, I'll go Tua. Athleticism, I'll go Lamar. Clutch factor, I'll go, because I want to make this different. Clutch factor, I'll go Joey B. And then overall, I'll go Patty Mahomes.
I'm going to go super specific. You're going to hate this. You are going to absolutely hate this.
You're going to go Daniel Jones, Eli Manning,
arm strength,
Tommy DeVito, Russell Wilson, and now Jameis Winston.
Hey, wait, we might still sign Aaron Rodgers, too.
And Aaron Rodgers and Shedeur Sanders.
Aaron Rodgers, draft Shedeur, 6 quarterbacks. It's like what people do in a fantasy draft. They draft all quarterbacks, and they build their team through trades. Yeah. Arm strength, we've heard all about it. Why not Joe Milton for just arm strength? We're only talking about the strength of one's arm. Joe Milton.
Just keep going, dude.
Accuracy. I know he's only a rookie going into his second year. It's hard to overlook Jaden Daniels when you're talking accuracy. Dude is putting it pinpoint accuracy. Athleticism. Love Lamar. You have to take Lamar. I still don't want him taking too many hits, but you were right on that. Clutch factor. Look, here, you ready for this? This is going to be a controversial take. Who was more clutch in the biggest game of the year than Jalen Hurts this year?
Love it.
So how do you ignore that? I'm giving
Jalen
Hurts
his flowers.
And overall, that's where I put in the Josh Allen, because Josh Allen has just enough of all of these things that I think Josh Allen's a good overall. Good question, though, David. Appreciate it.
All right.
Well, let's get some more. Don't forget, it's feedback at Throwback Show. Thank you to Raymond Felton. Next week,
bro, we can't even say it, but you are so fucking excited.
In the words of DJ Khaled, let's golf.